National security strategist is calling for reparations from China over the communist regime's role during the ongoing outbreak. One America's Jack Posobiec has more from Washington.
We were very excited to welcome back to One American News. It's Michael Waller. He is the senior analyst for strategy at the Center for Security Policy. Thank you so much for coming on with us.
Hey, Jack, it's great to be back.
Now, we're all taking a look at China, which is something that I know you and I have talked about at length. You studied China extensively. Tell me, how is it that the makeup of the current Chinese regime, the CCP, has led us to this situation?
It was really simple. They led us to the situation first 40, almost 50 years ago to counterbalance the Soviet Union. But what then became of it when Mao died was a gangster state. So up came these clans from different regions and different interest groups as part of the Communist Party apparatus to make a fortune by bringing in capital from all around the world, but especially the United States, and then manufacturing there and selling back to us. So it's those different interest groups now that are competing among themselves, sometimes in a very deadly game, for control of China and then China's interests, which happen to be taking us over.
We are still obviously investigating what actually happened, how this virus got out, how the pandemic began. But I think that a lot of people in the United States really do place blame on the government of China. Do you think that's right?
Sure. It's a government laboratory. Everything is centered in the party and the party apparatus, and people are conditioned at the local level to only do what their superiors say. And if their superiors are saying, don't do anything, or not giving any orders at all, people are going to be afraid to take initiative on their own. But if you look at this, Xi Jinping said early on, and the party gave directives early on, saying, before they admitted anything, that they have to get better security in that virus lab in Wuhan. That's one of these little tells that you gather by examining Chinese government propaganda versus Chinese government actions. There's the tell that they really know where the virus came from. It came from their own government-controlled laboratory.
Incredible. And of course, we're hearing from U.S. officials now that that may very well be the case. Moving forward, though, because of all this and because of this situation, what are some steps that the U.S. government, the U.S. country, can take to really answer what's happened here?
The first thing is we have to get reparations from the Chinese government. This is what happens when any hostile power unleashes damage against everyone else. There has to be reparations for it. And the Chinese Communist Party is not going to pay those reparations, so we have to take them. This would mean, for example, the United States government defaults on its debt to China. There's no way the Chinese government can collect that, but that's over $1 trillion. If we were to do that, and coordinate it with all the other countries in the world that owe debts to China, we would collapse the apparatus. We would get the Communist Party factions and different interest groups fighting amongst one another, Game of Thrones style. Pretty nasty.
And we're seeing some support in the Senate and in the Congress for doing some steps that sound very similar to what you're talking about.
Right. There's been Senator Cotton has introduced legislation to allow American citizens to sue the Chinese Communist Party and other Chinese interest groups. That's a great step forward, too. And also, the president should use his emergency powers to confiscate Chinese Communist Party-owned businesses and properties in the United States. Like Smithfield Farms, for example, the huge meat company. That's a Chinese Communist Party-owned company. And they control our meat supply to a large extent in the United States. They've shut down a couple of their factories already to cut us off from our own food. We should take industries like that, auction them off to American citizens, and return the money to the American taxpayers.
Well, it really does seem that this entire situation has exposed our supply chain vulnerabilities to China. That's something that the president has talked about. That's something that a lot of people are talking about. Michael Waller, thank you so much for coming on with us. Where can people go to follow you and find more of your work?
Follow us at securefreedom.org or follow me on Twitter at jmichaelwaller.
Appreciate it as always. One American News.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.